Good morning, Wednesday morning, everybody. Fun times ahead, I guess, depending on what your definition of fun is. But yes, it is Wednesday, December 10th. This is Fair and Balanced Live. My apologies to anyone if you're hearing the cat in the background. He desperately would love to get in here and join the stream, but unfortunately, he doesn't know as much about these topics as I do, so he's going to stay out there for now. Perhaps we'll have an appearance of him a little bit later. I don't know. Mazia Zenon, first in the comments. Welcome. I appreciate that. Let's get down to business here today, though, folks, because Karoline Leavitt is out there making a complete and total fool of herself, trying to sell Americans on this super awesome economy that Donald Trump has created in just a few short months as president. She went on Fox News yesterday. She went on Newsmax yesterday. She was doing the conservative media rounds, trying to tell everybody that things are actually super awesome, in spite of the fact that everybody can tell things are really bad. But much like Trump yesterday with his speech in Pennsylvania, which I got a little bit on that coming up in a little bit, Karoline Leavitt's words are falling flat with Americans who feel the difference. You know, it's one thing to go out there and lie to people about the Epstein files. It's one thing to go out there and lie to people about ending wars across the world. Those are things that Americans can't see, they can't feel, they don't experience. But when you're trying to pull the wool over people's eyes about their own daily experiences at the grocery store, at the gas pump, at the electronics store, whatever it is, that's a tougher sell because they know it's not true. And so Karoline Leavitt went on Fox News yesterday, Fox and Friends, and said that the problem is not necessarily, the problem. The problem is that Republican lawmakers are not out there giving Trump enough praise. If only Republicans, according to Karoline Leavitt, would go out there and talk about how awesome Trump is more, we wouldn't have Americans thinking they're paying more for groceries. Here's what she said. These are Karoline Leavitt's words yesterday morning from Fox and Friends. As President Trump has been screaming from the rooftops, Republicans need to remain tough and smart, and they need to be more vocal about telling the accomplishment of this administration. Now, first of all, let me point out something that y'all may not have picked up on, but she said they need to be more vocal about telling the accomplishment of this administration. The accomplishment. Singular, not plural. So she's like, we did one thing. I mean, one thing in 11 months and nobody's talking about it. And then she didn't even say what the one thing was. But Republicans, you now have a job, according to Karoline Leavitt, go out there and talk about the accomplishment. The thing, man, right? To quote former President Biden. The thing. I would love to know what that one accomplishment is. I would love to know how she wants Republicans to praise Trump for the accomplishment. And I would love to see how the public reacts to learning that there's actually an accomplishment. I mean, that's news to me, because if we go back through these not even 11 months, they've done nothing. I mean, things have been done, sure, but for the benefit of the American public, they've done nothing. They passed tax cuts for the wealthy elite. Wow, great. Every single Republican administration for the last 45 years has done that. That's not even an accomplishment at this point. And technically, you didn't even pass the tax cuts. All you did was just give them a longer time to be in existence. So you didn't even create them. You just said, yeah, we're going to keep doing that. So that's not even an accomplishment. So I don't think that's the accomplishment. Prices are higher than ever. Inflation has been going up every single month since April when Donald Trump announced his Liberation Day tariffs. So I wouldn't consider that the accomplishment. I mean, he's losing court cases left and right. So that's not the accomplishment. And even his own administration admits they're not deporting as many people as they would like. So they don't even consider that an accomplishment. So, Karoline, what the F is the accomplishment? You can't open a can of worms and then not go fishing. But that is exactly what you did out there telling us that we need to be praising Trump for the accomplishment. Excuse me, not we. She wants Republicans to. The rest of us, we can still criticize, I guess. We don't have to talk about the accomplishment because we're not Republicans. And again, nobody knows what the accomplishment is. But I do appreciate Karoline Leavitt for not pluralizing that word. Okay. For not telling us the accomplishments. Just keeping it singular, keeping it to where everybody knows the guy's really only done one thing, and even we don't know what it is. Let's get to the comments here. Afternoon from the UK. Thank you very much for joining us from across the pond over there. 8 months of reacting still isn't enough time to get rid of all the pages with Trump in it. That's a reference, of course, to the Epstein files. Happy to be here with the great Farron Cousins. It's always very informative and mind opener. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. Here's a good one. Defense 89 says, I'm so happy Miami elected a Democrat mayor. Yes, for those who were not paying attention yesterday, Democrats had some pretty massive victories in Republican strongholds. City of Miami has not had a Democratic mayor in over 30 years. So once again, we get into elections and Democrats are overperforming in deep red areas and in several instances yesterday, flipping areas that have been red for decades. Super chat comment here. Thank you, V-Man. Says, one thing I'm glad for is we got to see the Republican Party take one more big fat L this year and your home state, no less. Congrats, Miami, for the W. Yeah, again, I absolutely love this. This was an amazing performance by Democrats yesterday. So that is something, if you haven't, looked into it, seen what's happening, take a look. Truly awesome. Florida, a lot more Democrats coming to local and state government here. Question here from Jeffrey Zimmerly says, so do you think that the Supreme Court is going to allow him to have the untrained power over the federal government, like he can fire anybody he wants anytime for anything? Yeah, probably. I mean, really, I think that's what this Supreme Court is leaning towards. They basically like to sandwich things. Either, they'll do pro-Trump, anti-Trump, pro-Trump sandwich, or anti-pro, anti-sandwich. And so if they strike down his tariffs, they'll give him the unitary executive power to where he basically runs every single agency and department inside of the federal government. So yeah, it'll be a bit of a Trump sandwich what the Supreme Court does, but we saw it during his first term, and I think we're likely going to see that again this time. By the way, on the topic of Karoline Leavitt, though, that's what we started with for everybody who's just not joining us. That wasn't the only thing she did yesterday. That wasn't even the dumbest thing that she did yesterday, talking about the accomplishment, which I actually just love that phrase. That's what we're going to talk about now, the accomplishment. But she did go on Newsmax, and she had this to say. Another huge win for our farmers. Following his successful meeting with President Xi Jinping in South Korea, President Trump convinced President Xi to continue purchasing or begin purchasing again American soybeans, which is something China wasn't doing under the last administration because they had no respect for President Biden or for the country at the time. But now they know President Trump is not messing around. He's going to stand up for American farmers and American families. Now, there's a fun little chart here. See, here's a little chart. This chart is actually soybean purchases that China made from the United States. And we can see here, see this little tiny dot right here at the end? Okay, that's this year. See these? You see these? Oh, that's the Biden administration. Oh, there's the Trump year, right? So they're down under Trump, first and second term, and they went skyrocketing under President Biden. This one little chart here, fun little chart, U.S. soybean exports to China from the U.S. Census Bureau trade data. So it's actually from the federal government itself. That one little chart shows that Karoline Leavitt's lying about literally everything she said in that statement to Newsmax. Every bit of it. None of it is true. Because that meeting in South Korea was a long ass time ago. And China has not started buying soybeans again. Uh-oh. Kind of sounds like a problem when you're trying to push a lie. China is buying soybeans from Brazil. They're buying soybeans now from Argentina. They have found other suppliers. Will they start buying from the United States again at some point? Sure. But it's never going to hit those levels that it was at. Trump killed that for good. And that's why, of course, as we discussed yesterday, farmers are getting $12 billion of our dollars, whether we like it or not. They voted for Trump. They put him in office. He screwed them over. Now we're the ones on the hook for their mistakes. And Karoline Leavitt is out there lying to everybody about what is actually happening, who made the mistakes, who has the accomplishment. And that's where we're at. That is the stupidity of the world that we live in right now. A super chat here. Thank you very much from Jonathan Freeland. Freeland says, good morning, Farron. Did you see the article about the defiance or the detainee? Excuse me. I got a smudge on my screen here. In Alligator, Alcatraz. I did not. I'm not exactly sure. Get that thing off. What that is referring to. I will take a look at that once we finish the stream here. Trump gave Argentina $40 billion. Yeah. That's also kind of funny. Donald Trump gives all of this, U.S. money to Argentina. And we're like, hey, okay, you're going to be our great new best buddy. And Argentina's like, yeah, actually, we're going to do business with all the people who stopped doing business with you. And we're going to make even more money. So thanks for the $40 billion. We're also getting a lot of billions over here from everybody else. We're doing just great. So thank you, Donald. Yeah, really just top-notch decisions coming out of the executive branch, right? This guy is really just knocking it out of the park at every given opportunity. Farron, did you hear about Leavitt, a relative from Brazil, was arrested but released on a $1,500 bail? I don't understand why others who are detained and flown to different countries. The Leavitt relative from Brazil. Are you talking about the mother of her nephew? Because I haven't seen that she was released on bail. I did, of course, see that her sister, so the baby mama's sister, did come out and talked about, they put their faith in Karoline. They never should have done that. That was a mistake. But I haven't seen anything about the bail. Point here, he can give money to Argentina, but can't help Americans. Yeah, we're not getting $40 billion. Even the farmers aren't getting $40 billion or $20 billion. They're only getting $12 billion. And even that, is spread among all of these different farmers. And it's not even technically direct payments. It's just basically saying like, we'll buy all your extra food that nobody else is buying. But knowing this administration, it's not like they're going to donate it to food banks or give it to needy kids in schools. They're probably just going to send it off to McDonald's and be like, hey, can you make Trump a special meal with all this food we just bought for $12 billion? And they'll do it if he asks. And I worry that if he hadn't thought about that, now he might. But yeah, they're not going to give that food that they're purchasing to people who need it. And that's another part of the whole thing that really just drives me insane is they're using our tax dollars to buy this food to bail out the farmers. And again, if they were giving it to schools, if they were using it, to stock food banks that ran empty because of the government shutdown, I'd be more okay with it, but I promise you they're not going to do it. They're not going to send it to U.S. aid, right? So the whole thing is absolutely ridiculous. Do you think some of the people that claim they support Donald Trump really going to vote for Democrats and claim they voted for MAGA in midterms? No, I don't. I think they're not going to vote. And that is something I've touched on a couple of times here. is all of these disaffected Republicans, the angry MAGA voters, it's not that in the midterms they're going to go over and vote for the Democrats, right? They're not switching sides. They're disillusioned and disaffected, so they're not going to vote. And that can be just as good, not in the long term, but obviously in the short term, those folks staying home and just not participating in the process is equally as beneficial to the Democrats. And I think that's what we're going to see of next year. We're going to see, I believe, based on current polling, this may change, but based on what we see right now, we are likely to see depressed Republican turnout. We will see more moderates and independents move over to the left, and the Democrats will prevail that way. But we're not going to see a bunch of Republicans being like, I'm a Democrat now. That's not going to happen, unfortunately. Now, if the Democrats do, start delivering on promises and, really start to turn things around for average working class people, then hell yeah, we can get some people to flip and keep them flipped. But, that's going to remain to be seen once Democrats get some power. And of course, they can't do a ton because Trump is still going to be the president. And speaking of Donald himself, he began his little everything is okay with the economy tour yesterday in, Mount Pocono, Pennsylvania. Small crowd as predicted, but rabid crowd. And wouldn't you know it, Donald Trump actually didn't spend a whole lot of time talking about the economy, even though the focus was supposed to be 100% the economy. Instead, he fell back to an old classic. Let's all be big old giant racists. And wouldn't you know it, it worked. That crowd went wild. They love the racism because they're a bunch of fucking racists. And there is no other way to say that. But Donald Trump decided to go on his little kick about Somalia. And here is what he said. Do we have any individuals from Somalia in the group? Please raise your hand. That's for Minnesota. I don't know what that means. That's for Minnesota. Like, do it for Johnny. What does that mean? This is for Minnesota. You're not even in Minnesota, you senile old fool. I love this Ilhan Omar, whatever the hell her name is, with the little turban. I love her. She comes in. She does nothing but bitch. She's always complaining. She comes from her country where, it's considered about the worst country in the world, right? We ought to get her the hell out. She married her brother in order to get in, right? She married her brother. Can you imagine if Donald Trump married his sister? Beautiful. She's a beautiful person. If I married my sister to get my citizenship, do you think I'd last for about 2 hours? Or would it be something less than that? She married her brother to get in. Therefore, she's here illegally. She should get the hell out. Throw her the hell out. She does nothing but complain. And you do nothing but repeat yourself because you have full-blown dementia. You do. You cannot convince me that Donald Trump does not have dementia. How many times in that paragraph that I just read to you did you hear a sentence more than once? Almost every single sentence in some way, some of them word for word, were repeated, which, yes, is a symptom. This man is not well. He was also very low energy. I gave him too much credit with the way I was reading that. But he's back to the racism. That's what his base wants. That's what they love. He knows he can't talk about the economy because even he knows it's actually bad. So fall back to the racism, right? Get the bigots riled up. And that's exactly what he did there. And that is what we are going to see more of in these next 3 years because Trump sucks at the economy. And for the record, and somebody, Vincent Owens today says he was slurring bad too. But after that, according to this, as Trump spoke, the crowd reacted with an increasingly loud chant of send her back. Now, of course, she did not marry her brother. That is a right-wing conspiracy that has been going around for years. And like every other right-wing conspiracy, they're so sold on it, yet nobody's ever been able to come up with a single shred of evidence to back any part of it up. Huh, a little weird, right? You got all these conspiracies that have been floating around for a couple decades in some instances, and yet you can't prove a single one of them. Geez, you'd think you'd give up every now and then, but nah, you idiots are just going to keep on it because it's all rooted in racism. That's why you still have MAGA people today. You still have Republicans that are like, Obama's not even born in the United States. Yeah, because you guys want to be racist. Like, just come out and say that you're racist. I talked the other day, I had a video go up, a shocking poll showing that like over a third of young Republican voters admit that I'm openly racist. So yeah, Republicans have a massive racism problem. If you haven't watched that segment, by the way, please go back and do so. I was a little upset because that one underperformed, and I felt like that was kind of an important thing that everybody needed to know about. So if you haven't watched it, please go back and do so. It's a really good one. Swoopy Shark, switching over to the Epstein files, says Maxwell will turn on Trump. Watch. Now, just quick question, because it's difficult sometimes to get inflection and context when reading something. Are you saying that Maxwell will turn on Trump, or Maxwell will turn on Trump? You know, I mean, there's a world of difference, and both actually could be applicable to the situation given both of their histories. So I just want to make sure we're talking about Maxwell's going to flip on Trump, not flip on Trump. And no, I'm sorry, this just went totally off the rails. Saucy. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's one of those days. It's halfway through the week. We're approaching the Christmas season. It's been a long ass year. And yeah, so sometimes we have a little fun and we make potentially not great comments. But no, I do like your statement. I don't know if she will or not, to be honest with you. Is Ghislaine or Ghislaine Maxwell going to turn against Donald Trump and tell everything she knows? She needs something from Trump. So I don't think she's going to do it. Oh man, somebody called it a dad joke. Oh, man, now you made me feel old. I don't know if she will until it's solidified that she's not going to get it. So that's an iffy situation. I could absolutely see her doing it if Trump comes out and says, no, she deserves to be in prison. In fact, we're moving her back to the maximum security prison. But if she gets to stay in Club Fed, where she again is being treated like a princess, I don't think she's going to do it. She's already gotten almost everything she has asked for, except, of course, for those grand jury documents to remain sealed. Judge yesterday, of course, said, no, we're unsealing these. I don't care that you're trying to get a new trial. To hell with you. The Epstein Files Act, or whatever it's called, says I got to release them, so I'm releasing them. So Maxwell suffered a big loss this week, and she's basically, almost said at the end of a rope, but that's not what I meant. Again, very not a good joke there, but I think she is kind of running out of options, I guess is the best way to say that. She's a total self-serving narcissist who'll do whatever to save her skin. I agree 100%. Like, that is what Maxwell is, and that, of course, is what is going to happen eventually. I like your show. Love from Norway. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Norway looks like a phenomenal country. I would love to have the opportunity to visit there someday. Sorry, people are still talking about my god-awful jokes here. So yeah, sorry, again, kind of got off the rails with this stuff. I would love to live in Norway, rated the happiest country in the world. Come to Scotland is the next comment too. My nephew actually just did a semester abroad in Scotland, got back yesterday. And of course, Scott Milliken, his father, who I worked with for 21 years over at Ring of Fire, his mother is 100% Scottish. They go to Scotland all the time. So yeah, I would love to be able to go there as well. Here's a question from Carla Berger, who says, if the orangutan in the White House died from Big Macs, will you have a block party? No. I will not celebrate that. So I got a lot of MAGA neighbors, and I would like to continue living. So no, I will not celebrate the death of anybody, and I will not encourage it, obviously, either. That is not okay. But no, where I live, if I were to be like, hey, nothing of value was lost today, then I'm going to hear gunshots and then I'll never hear anything again. And sorry to be kind of blunt with that, but yeah, this is not an area where I could even put out like a Democrat yard sign. That would not end well for myself or my family. Buck T1P says Democrats are Nazis. Biden deported over 4 million illegal immigrants. I'm not sure. I'm not sure you understand what you're trying to say, unless you're trying to mock conservatives. Other than that, I can't. I don't know how those two different sentences are going together here, or why that's even a thing to bring up. So maybe you're mocking conservatives, in which case, actually pretty brilliant there. Good job. Otherwise, yeah, that's just okay. So what we're going to do here, trolls coming in here, do they realize how they're helping Farron? Thank you, Tyler Hackner. I don't know how or why. I always end up seeing Tyler's comment, or at least one of them every day and reading it. And it is purely coincidental. So Tyler, you're kind of my spirit buddy here. I love seeing you in the chat. So thank you for that. But yeah, I really, sorry, a lot of these comments are starting to get just incomprehensible. I mean, really can't even make out what they're trying to say. The punctuation and all that is bad. So since the trolls are taking over the chat, we're going to go ahead and call it a day here, folks. Be back again tomorrow, 9 a.m. Central. If you're not already subscribed, please do so. Like I mentioned yesterday, share the videos. Not just the live streams, the regular videos that go up during the day. More coming up, by the way, throughout the day today. So stay tuned for those later on. Follow me across social media at Fair and Balanced, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Threads at Fair and Balanced. So again, thank you everybody for tuning in. Subscribe if you're not already, and I'll see you again tomorrow.